Hi, I'm Travis with Hardin & Associates Consulting, and in honor of National Backflow Prevention Day on August 16th, we thought we'd spend some time this month just educating on the very basics of backflow prevention. And today we thought we'd start with our 4 major types of testable backflow preventers so that everybody could be familiar with those. We will start here in the middle with the double check DC VA double check valve assembly. It is a very simple assembly. We have 2 independently operating spring-loaded check valves, 2 ball valves, inlet and outlet, and we've got our 4 test cocks that allow us to test at what point those independently operated spring-loaded check valves close. And so what happens here is when we have water come into the assembly, it is able to open those spring-loaded check valves above 1.0 psi. And then when we have a leak in the street, or if we have a quick use of water, such as with flushing of the lines, as that water tries to go back into our potable water supply, as we lose pressure, as we get to around 1.0 psi, those 2 spring-loaded check valves are going to close tight with our spring and not allow that water back into our potable water system. And this is good for back siphonage and back pressure, are 2 major types of backflow that we find. But it is not rated for health hazard, because if either one of these or both of these check valves are fouled, water can move freely backwards through the assembly. Then we will go to our PVB, our pressure vacuum breaker. Here we have our 2 shutoff valves again, inlet and outlet. And then we have a spring-loaded check valve. And then above that check valve here in line, we have our air inlet valve. And so the way that this works, same thing. When water comes through in its normal direction, we open the check valve. We're able to open the air inlet valve, or close the air inlet valve rather, and then supply water to whatever we're using it for. But then when we lose pressure, that air inlet opens to the atmosphere. It's going to open and not allow any more water back into the potable water supply. And then we also have our spring-loaded check valve. It's going to close tight and not allow any water back into our potable water supply. This is allowed for health hazards, so we can use them for health hazards, but we can't use them against back pressure, only against back siphonage. And so if we have a back pressure application, we would not be able to use a PVB. An SVB works a lot the same as the PVB. It's got the air inlet valve over the spring-loaded check valve. Instead of this second test cock here, though, we have a vent screw. And SVB is a spill-resistant vacuum breaker. Once again, we can use it for health hazards. We can use it for back siphonage, but it is not rated for back pressure. So one thing that I was taught early on is anything that's shaped like an L, SVB, PVB, and then the non-testable AVB that we're not covering in this video. They're all good for health hazard, but they're not good for back pressure. Lastly, we're going to come down here to our RPZ or RPBA, reduced pressure backflow assembly. And this is really where we can kind of cover all our bases. It is rated for a health hazard and also rated for back pressure and back siphonage. So any condition we have, we can use an RPZ. It works similarly to our double check. It has a 2 independent spring-loaded check valves, just the same way. But here in between those check valves is where we find the difference. We have our reduced pressure zone and our relief valve assembly. And so what that's going to do is, if those 2 check valves are fouled, or even just one of those check valves is fouled, as water tries to go back into our potable water supply, given it a back pressure or a back siphonage event, the reduced pressure zone or relief valve is going to open, and it'll actually dump that water down on the ground instead of allowing it to come back into our potable water supply. And so there's no situation where the RPZ, even in a failing state, will allow backflow to occur. And so that's why it's rated for both health hazard, back pressure, and back siphonage. If you have any questions about this or any other related topics, please go see us at hactexas.com. And thanks for watching.